15% overlap in our talks. So is my screen visible, Sangamitra?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be talking about basics of artificial intelligence and try to explore the power of intelligent machines. I bring greetings from Asian Institute of Medical Sciences, the place I've been working for past 15 years in various capacities, and currently I head the department. We do have an education program in the form of DNB as well as RA fellowship program from Academy of Regional Anesthesia. And if anybody is interested, can join us for observership program also. So these are my set of disclosures. I do not have any conflict of interest. It's just that I'm about to complete a course on generative AI from IIT Patna. And I've used a couple of AI tools to beautify my presentation. References are certainly from PubMed, and the images you are going to see are from AI as well as Google. So this is how I have planned my lecture. In next 20 minutes, I'll delve into what is artificial intelligence, how does it differ from human intelligence, what are the various types of artificial intelligence as basics we should be knowing as anesthesiologists, and I like to summarize everything. So let's understand what is artificial intelligence, my dear friends. It's essentially a branch of computer science which is dedicated to develop software as well as hardware capable of simulating human cognitive functions. We all know that humans are capable of problem solving, have the capability of recognizing objects, do have a reasonable capability of reasoning and decision making. By doing this, we are trying to teach our computers to behave like humans. And this is an excellent article published very recently in Turkish Journal, and I would request you to go through it. This will give you a brief overview about what is AI. So the big question which comes to our mind is artificial intelligence the same as human intelligence? Answer is big no. Let's analyze how both of them are different. So human intelligence, my dear friends, is essentially biological, conscious. It's creative, intuitive, emotional. It learns from experience and it has got ethical judgment, moral values, but the limitation is the speed and the fatigability. We do need a rest. We need to sleep in the night so as to recharge our battery. Whereas let's look at artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, in contrast, is essentially machine based and algorithmic. It's the humans who have fed in a lot of data in that. It's fast, precise, and essentially data driven. It requires large data sets, but it has no emotions. It's not empathetic, sympathetic, or at times it may not have any ethics also. But the biggest beauty is it works tirelessly, 24 cross 7. So when we listen to this lecture, we need to understand, are we on the side of building an AI process or are we on the side of using an artificial intelligence tool? So the difference being when we talk of developing or building an AI, we are trying to build algorithms and models, which requires a little bit knowledge of coding, maths, data science, and we focus on how AI works. Examples are AI researchers, engineers, and the data scientists who are working day in and out to build new and new AI models. So this is all about creating intelligence. In contrast, if we are an end user, that means an AI user, we use AI tools in daily work, but it certainly requires a domain knowledge as well as critical thinking to make a maximum advantage out of this. We focus on how to use AI safely and effectively. Example includes various professions like doctors, teachers, managers, policymakers. This is all about using intelligence wisely. So we have all used ultrasound machines. We do we need to know actually how that build machine is built up to use it efficiently? The answer is no. But essentially, we need to know that how the knobology functions, how the probology functions to get the maximum out of the ultrasound machine. Similarly, Our goal is not to become AI engineers, but to become AI literate professionals with a minimum focus on how this process is being developed so that we can intelligently and efficiently utilize AI on day-to-day basis. So all of us think, or a good number of us think, that artificial intelligence all started with ChatGPT. Is it so? The answer is big no. Let's see how it started. ChatGPT actually, my dear friends, did not create AI. AI was there existing, evolving quietly, silently for decades. What ChatGPT did was it popularized AI and made it visible to everyone. So AI was there before ChatGPT. This is known as silent AI era when majority of us were not actually knowing that AI is existent. Have you ever tried to relate to your Gmail 10 years back? 10 years back also, Gmail used to categorize this mail is spam, this mail is promotional. So how was it doing? It had been taught on various data sets that if you see such words like Amazon or something like that, it has to be categorized as promotional. If you see certain words, then it has to be categorized as spam. So this is the way artificial intelligence was functioning. What about Alexa, Siri? They were already there since almost 15 years. Google Maps have been helping us to navigate to a destination since almost 15 years. And face recognition capabilities and the X-ray recognition capabilities was there. So we were actually living in a silent AI era prior to 2022 without having the knowledge that AI was there in our day-to-day practice. So this is the evolution of AI. It's a busy, crowded slide, but it's worthwhile to know how the actual development took place. So it's in 1955 the AI was actually born in form of a paper which was written by John McCarthy, who described artificial intelligence as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. And he presented this paper in 1956. So 1955, 55, 56 is the period where you can say the AI was actually born. And then between 1966 to 1997, in the AI terminology, it is called AI winter, thereby meaning for all these years, around 31 years, there was a dormant or a silent phase where actually nothing much was happening. Then actually started the development from 1997. And if you can recollect, whosoever is an iPhone user, Siri became integrated in iPhone 4S in 2011, whereas Alexa came into our lives in 2014. And from 2017, there occurred a major change. And next, my slide, I'll show you what is that major change. This is the landmark paper. If you find time, please Google it out. It's named as Attention is All You Need from Ashish Vaswani. It's known as Vaswani et al. Attention is All You Need, where this group discussed the transformer model architecture, which is the architecture which is responsible for modern day AI functioning, and Python is the language. So this paper was presented at 31st Conference on Neural Information Processing Systems at 2007 in 2017 in United States. From there onwards, a rapid development took place and ChatGPT announced first itself in 2022. So, my dear friends, let's try to understand what are the various types of AI. They can be called as a narrow AI or a generalized AI. Narrow means they are specific for tasks and domains, whereas general means AI is capable of performing diverse human-like tasks. And we are in the era where the general AI is becoming more and more better. If you look at by functionality, how is AI classified? The reactive AI, that means no memory. It's just a reactionary approach. Limited memory means uses past data for decision making. And the theory of mind means understanding emotions and social intelligence. This is the emerging phase of AI. Now let's understand the first subset of artificial intelligence, that is machine learning. It is a subdivision of AI where the systems are programmed with the help of various data, and they're not being explicitly programmed as we used to write software programs in the past. So machine learning, my dear friends, is essentially learning from data, not rules. Instead of telling the computer what to do, we show them a lot of data and it because of predictive analysis, it will predict a pattern. It will try to learn the pattern and predict what next will come. If you give them 10 entries, and it will tell you what could be the probable 11th entry. See, it's similar to our clinical experience because if we see our anesthesia practice when we are a beginner in the first year compared to a 20th year into anesthesia, it all depends on the clinical experience and our anesthesia practice improves. So, repeated exposure to machine learning models will improve judgment and they become better and better. So, what are the machine learning types? This is very classical. I would request every one of you to kindly pay attention. This is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. In order to understand, let's understand this first image where a child is being taught in a play school by a teacher on a labeled data set. So, this is known as supervised learning. Whereas in unsupervised learning, two kids are playing themselves, trying to develop some kind of stuff without the labeled data. This is just on the basis of clustered learning. And third, last but not the least, is the reinforcement learning, whereby trial and error, we are getting some rewards at sometimes punishment and try to reuse the past things to become better and better. This is all the three phases of machine learning. This is how the models are being developed. Dr. Murli will take you through more deep dive into all this. Now coming on to the another subdivision of machine learning. So the top umbrella term is artificial intelligence, then comes machine learning, and then comes deep learning. Deep learning is inspired by the biological brain structure. As our brain contains various neurons, here in deep learning, we are processing the information through interconnected nodes or neurons. Try to analyze this figure. There is an input layer and the output layer. What is not visible to us is the hidden layer where the interaction is happening and we get a good output. So this deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning, is the modern day engine behind all this for image recognition, for natural language processing, and generative AI. So let's understand what is NLP, the natural language processing. The computer has to understand our language. So it's an interdisciplinary subfield of computer science and AI, which enables computers to comprehend our language, generate and manipulate the human language and give us the output. It's like analogy is it's like understanding the clinical notes which we write, the discharge summaries and the voice commands which we write in English. It's actually not a model, my dear friends. It's a capability of AI. And I would request you to read a very recent article from Canadian Journal published in 2025, where the large language models in context with NLP are explained. So now coming on to how these large language models function, our deep dive would be done by Dr. Murli. So a large language model, my dear friends, is an AI system which is trained on large amounts of text to understand and generate human language. So it's essentially a component of deep learning and it uses transformer architectures which were introduced in 2017 and it contains billions of parameters. To understand in a layman term, they are large language engines, and these are there are companies which build different ones, but the principle remains the same. For example, OpenAI has built ChatGPT, Anthropic has built Claude, Google has built Gemini, so on and so forth. So it's like the example is just like different ultrasound machines exist. For example, Sonosite, GE, eSorte, different large language models exist, each with their strengths, limitations, and design goals. Just a second. So now coming on to another AI sub-branch, that is the discriminative AI. And let's understand what is discriminative AI. As the word suggests, it learns to discriminate as yes or no, as a label, whether it's a cat or a dog. It can predict risk scores. So the discriminative AI, my dear friends, refers to models that learn to distinguish between predefined classes or outcomes by mapping inputs directly to outputs. So it can discriminate whether it is black or white. So this is the power of discriminative AI. In contrast, the generative AI, which the large language models are able to generate, can give us the Python codes, can generate audio, music for us, videos for us, images, text, and write essays for us. So as of now, we are using a lot of generative AI as well as discriminative AI. Now, what are the features which distinguish a discriminative AI model versus a generative AI? Majority of the models use both these features. So if you have to distinguish what is discriminative AI, it can just predict and classify, whereas generative, as the name suggests, can create a new content. Discriminative AI has fixed options. There is no creativity. Whereas generative AI, if I type in ChatGPT or some other tool that kindly generate an image for me, so if I describe my image, it's capable of generating that image. So, for example, in day-to-day life, risk prediction scores are there which use discriminative AI, whereas chatbots are there, which are classical examples of generative AI. Now, coming on to the latest, but not the last one, that is the agent AI and the agentic AI. For example, if I need to book a ticket for my family holiday in this summers, I wish to go to Europe in a particular time, and I want the tickets to be of a little lower cost, then there are agentic AI systems which use a combination of large language models, discriminative AI, generative AI, and they have an interface. They can establish an interface by permission with Make My Trip, look at the various tickets. Okay. So this is how agentic AI functions. It's like a junior resident who's allocated to you in ICU or your DNB training, whom you give them instructions, kindly induce this patient, give put in IGEL. So agentic AI has the capability to interact with various AI tools, pull out the data, and even can take actions. If you authorize agentic AI, it can even take your credit card number and book tickets on your behalf. So AI in a nutshell, my dear friends, let's understand the umbrella term is artificial intelligence. Under its basket, we have the machine learning. Okay. So deep learning is a subset of machine learning, and deep learning is supported by natural language processing and large language models. And we get a combination of generative AI and discriminative AI. And at the heart is the agentic AI, which is the most advanced. So these two diagrams, I think, would help you in understanding what I've said up till now. Let me give you a clinical analogy to understand it more. So machine learning, deep learning is like clinical experience, which we have acquired over the number of years. Natural language processing and large language models are a way we communicate with each other. For example, consider English. Discriminative AI, the power is diagnosis. If I get some symptoms and sign, I can narrow down one or two, three diagnoses. Generative AI is like creating a documentation out of whatever we have registered in the form of history taking, signs, symptoms, investigations. And agentic AI is next step, a junior resident or a DNB resident who is executing tasks on your behalf. So what are the AI applications? I'm not going to go into detail because this will be covered in detail tomorrow by Dr. Subramanian Mahankali as well as Dr. Amjad. So AI is everywhere, but I wish to introduce a word of caution as far as using AI for writing scientific research articles. So there are studies coming in the form of EEG analysis and MRI analysis, which have shown that people who are using ChatGPT for writing research articles versus people who are not using, their EEG patterns are showing that you have a lazy pattern. In contrast, where the human brain is being used to write research articles, the EEG waves that are coming that are showing that you are using your creativity. My dear friends, I wish to request you that we human beings are endowed with immense capacity. So do not use AI tools for writing your review articles or narrative articles. Instead, use them just for grammar correction and at times for rephrasing or paraphrasing in case you are stuck up with some plagiarism issues. Otherwise, you can use them to pull out good articles. To at times you're short of time, then you can give them two, three articles and just ask them to summarize. But do not use these tools to write, otherwise, your brain will get rusted. So let me give you one or two tips to how to use these tools in day-to-day practice in the best form. So we have heard a common saying, garbage in, garbage out. That means if you type in something wrong, you will not get good results. The skill of asking AI the right way to get the useful and accurate results is known as prompt engineering in the field of AI. So In order to give a good prompt to get a good result, always give a background, then what you want, in what style, in what parameters. Dr. Murli will take you through the live session. I'll give you a small example of that. Give a background that I am an anesthesiologist and I wish to make an image of garbage in, garbage out concept in light colors. So the nano banana from Gemini will understand this and will generate a better image. Instead, you write something like garbage in, garbage out, you will not get good results. So always try to give a background and what you wish to get in what style parameters, like in 1,000 words, 200 words, whatever you want. Try to be more specific. Then you see AI works better. Coming on to the AI ethics and regulations, as AI is dependent on large data, data privacy is a big question. And we need a transparent AI model which is understandable and explainable. And we need to hold accountability for AI systems and developers for taking decisions. And if we are stuck, for example, if AI is not giving the good results, then how do we actually override? The classical example is hypotension prediction index given in 2018 when the ChatGPT was not there. It used machine learning models. It can predict hypotension 5 minutes prior. So this is by Edwards Life Sciences. But it can predict hypotension. It cannot tell you the cause of the hypotension. So who takes the responsibility is the machine or the final the anesthetist who's looking after that patient. So we all keep ourselves updated by attending CMEs, webinars. So how do we keep ourselves updated with AI literacy? So I'll tell you the formula rule of one. This I got from AI. So subscribe to one newsletter. Okay. Subscribe to one research blog, for example, OpenAI, newsletter, The Batch, one hands-on platform, the Hugging Face. Hugging Face, whatever new AI tools are being developed for a short period of time, they are present on Hugging Face where they seek reviews from the end users. Listen to one kind of a podcast, whatever you prefer. So, my dear friends, this is my concluding slide. I would like to state that AI is a broad system, not a single tool. ChatGPT should be thought of as an application and not the origin of AI because AI was existent. AI learns from data, the machine learning, and the deep learning. Large language models enable language understanding and generation. The discriminative AI decides, generative AI creates. Agentic AI is the latest one which moves from answers to actions. Ultimately, it's a matter of human judgment, ethics, and responsibility remain central. So, thank you very much for patient listening. I like to leave you with a small quote that artificial intelligence does not replace human intelligence. It reshapes how humans use intelligence. Through this platform, I would invite all of you to AORA 2026, which is happening in Coimbatore, and under one roof, we'll have GARC, RA, acute pain, chronic pain, and POCUS. Please register. If you have not registered, 20th January till 20th, we have extended uh, early bird registrations. Thank you very much for patient listening.
Thank you, Devesh, sir. Uh, it was a wonderful talk, and as I have said earlier, we all need it because we all are struggling. Let's say it very practically. Even I am struggling, even others are struggling. So I think this class was equally meant for everyone. Thank you so much. Moving ahead, we will now go to the next session, which will be covered by Murli sir. And we all know that Murli sir is one of the executive member of AORA and consultant anesthesia pain management from Apollo Hospital, Bangalore. We all have gone through such luminary lounge insight from lives well lived on Insta. Sir also takes care of the IJ podcast. Sir has contributed over 9 chapters in 5 different books, over 13 publications. I think I'm telling the very old data. And sir has given over 17 different talks on work-life balance in various national conferences. Sir is faculty for international meetings, national scientific meetings and workshop. And sir is also a member of the workforce well-being of WFSA, as well as sir is also with the communicating community ILCOR and member of working group on early career anesthesiologist, again with WFSA. Now, not taking a lot of time, I would like to move to the topic today. Sir, please go ahead with your session. We are eagerly waiting for it, sir.
Thank you, Sangamitra. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. I say boys and girls because we have a lot of our new fellows who have joined, and welcome to the AORA Fellowship, and of course, Happy New Year to all of you. And I should thank Dr. Divesh for bringing out the entire session in such a nice way. He was the person who actually, discussed it with this session in Amritsar, and we said, let's kind of do something which will take everybody through the basics of AI. So we have, again, very two senior people coming in tomorrow, Dr. Amjad and Dr. Subramaniam. So to give a little bit of background, I've been doing a little bit of AI LLM engineering courses, and of course have been using it for a while now. So I'll just get started with my presentation. If people are listening to this talk on their phone, and if they have their laptop or computer, I request them to just switch it on, get a browser ready, so that when I take you through some of the practical aspects in the next 10 minutes, you can actually do it yourself. So if you have your laptop nearby, kindly kind of switch it on and get one of the browsers on. So let me start sharing my screen. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Dr. Divesh spoke to all of us about the basics of AI and what are the different aspects, and it was a wonderful talk which covered the entire breadth of AI. Now, this is going to be looking at
Sorry,
specific.
Dr. Murali, can you make it to a slideshow? Right now, we are getting it's a slideshow, but this is a presenter view.
Okay, you're getting the presenter view there.
Yeah.
Now?
Y- y- uh, just switch it on. Yeah. Now we're getting a slideshow. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm actually using two monitors. So that's probably the reason why it's kind of taking it that way. Okay, this is better, right?
Yeah, now it's perfect. You can go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So Dr. Divesh kind of took us through the entire thing. And now what we are looking at is these large language models, which are everywhere all around us. So let's start with this date. It was 7 January. It was a day after our ARORA fellowship exams in Hyderabad. I was coming back, and ChatGPT was very much in the news. You know, it had just released the model. The entire thing was up in the air. People were downloading, and I thought, let me try whatever this new thing is. And I would probably, keep it as a watershed day, because I just stopped in my tracks. And when I started chatting with ChatGPT on this day, I realized that we have crossed the border from what is called as a Turing test, where we could not make out whether it is a human or AI which was talking back to us. And since then, ChatGPT has evolved, in a very big way. But once we went through this, the next thing what we did was, we started looking at how ChatGPT can actually influence, or how it can kind of impact us in anesthesia. And this was an editorial that I wrote immediately after having a chat with Dr. Rakesh and Dr. Harsha, who was from Canada. And we also conducted one of our AORA exams using ChatGPT, and this was a midterm exam, because this was very new to us, and we started using it in a very big way to see how it can help teaching. And it was an exam which people, I think, in the fellows, many of them might be attending this talk, might remember. It was one of a very tough papers which we had in 23 July. So it was completely created by ChatGPT. Of course, we went through the entire questions and did it. So we have started using as AORA, quite early on, these large language models in teaching as well. Now, why anesthesia? Why are we thinking more about AI now? Now, we are definitely getting a lot of information overload, right? lot of guidelines coming in papers, of course, in centers where they're using electronic health records, there's a lot of data which is exploding. Then, of course, documentation and patient education takes hours. So this is like the administrative tax, which we can probably avoid. A little bit about shadow AI. Now, clinicians are already using these tools, but we need a little bit of governance. We need to know how to probably, structure it in a nice way with policy and other things. And of course, the opportunity, right? There is a plenty of, AI available all around us, LLMs, which are everywhere. So we need to know how to use this for non-clinical tasks, therefore reducing friction, so we can give more time to our patients. And this is one of my favorite movies. And of course, I had to pick this meme up because it's everywhere. Large language models are all around us. Kids are using it in school. Of course, people are using it in the software industry, left, right, and center. Now, what is an LLM? Now, LLM is nothing but a super autocomplete. Now, when I say autocomplete, we have been using this autocomplete in our mobiles, right? So whenever you're on WhatsApp, the moment you type a word, it's suggesting the next word. Now, this is what the LLM is doing. It is actually suggesting what is the best word which will follow a word. So let's take example. If I say good, for this context, it might be evening is the next word. But if it was in the morning, you would say good morning, right? So similarly, the LLM works by predicting the next word. So it's a model which is trained to predict the next most likely piece of text. Now here, I would like you to understand that text in the LLM context is called a token. So this was something which was coined by the engineers. It is called as a token. We'll go a little bit deep into it. It is not a database. So the first thing you need to understand is an LLM like ChatGPT or Claude, it is not a database. You're not querying a database. So it doesn't look up facts. Please remember this. It reconstructs patterns. So it is probably trained on a database earlier, but right now it is not sitting with a database. It is designed to be plausible, not necessarily accurate. So it is very important to remember this. So it is trained for fluency, not for truth. And of course, the analogy which Dr. Divesh was mentioning is, it is like a brilliant intern that you have who has read every book under the planet, but has no real world experience. So remember that when you're chatting with ChatGPT, you are chatting with a brilliant resident or a brilliant intern who knows everything. You might have come across such interns who might not have real world experience. They know everything, but they don't know what is the real world. So this is what a LLM is. Now, what are the different LLMs that are available to us? Now, many of you will be familiar with the ChatGPT, which is the third one from the left. The other ones which are available on the market, as Dr. Divesh was mentioning, is Claude, which is by Anthropic. Then we have Grok. Then we have Llama by Meta. Then we have Gemini. The Google people have really caught up now with GPT. And we have DeepSeek, again, which is a large language model, which is from China. So there are a lot of good models. Now, what these models are, these are called the frontier models. That is, these are the models which have been trained on the biggest data sets. They have the maximum parameters and they are amazingly fast. So these are what we call as frontier models. Then we have what is called as open source models. Now, there are a lot of other models. There are a lot of AI companies which are working and they are freely available. I mean to say, when you say freely available, ChatGPT does charge you a little bit of fee for every transaction if you start using it on a regular basis. So these are free models which are available. And one of the most popular of this is Llama by Meta. So of all the open source models, Llama is the model that can be used. Now, what does it do? Now, if you look at this diagram, I'll just put up, I can't probably show you this. Now, what is happening here is the chat bot, which is this big box, is working inside. So it's like a black box. It has got its, databases. It's been trained on a lot of text. It's got its algorithm and, all the NLP models which are working inside. So this is actually giving you an output. So what you have as the chat GPT that you use on your mobile or on your computer is a user interface, right? Now, these models can also be used directly if you program, say, an app or another software to directly use the backend databases, the entire LLM without the user interface. So let's take example, you have ChatGPT, which is the user interface of the GPT platform, OpenAI. you can directly use what is called as an API. API is nothing but a program interface, right? So you are using an interface to directly chat with the LLM without the ChatGPT interface. So this is what LLM engineering or engineers who are using these LLMs do, that they can build their own products. So I'll give you an example later. So you can build your own product, you can build your own app, you can build your own thing, and you can directly use the services of OpenAI or Anthropic, and they will charge a little fee for it. So, each model differs. So how does it learn? How does a large language model learn? Like example, ChatGPT. So it undergoes what is called as pre-training. Now, pre-training is when the GPT platform, the LLM, is trained on a lot of data. So this is called a training set. So reading the entire internet to learn how language works. So this is how it does. It reads the entire thing. It would have read all the Shakespeare works. It would have read all the encyclopedia. So it is trained. Then what happens? The humans fine tune it. So there is some amount of specialized training that happens to follow instructions and be helpful. Then there is this human feedback. So the RLHF stands for human feedback. So the humans are kind of looking at AI, how it generates output, and they're fine tuning it and telling it that, yes, these are our values, these are our ethics, so you have to behave like this. So of all the presently available large language models, Claude is supposed to be most well behaved, and Grok, which is from Elon Musk and team, is supposed to be a little naughty. So this is something which is based on how they train the AI, how they train the LLMs. And finally, we get the result, right? A system that understands the context but lacks grounding. So it needs, again, a little bit of fine tuning. So this is how it is done. So you have the pre-training, which is done, and then you have the base model and fine tuning. But then when you start asking a little deeper questions about how they train it, what they do, this is what you get. So as they say, never ask a woman her age, a man his salary. The new thing now is never ask an AI company where they got their training data. So this has become one of the biggest things because everybody is keeping it as a secret, and it is a race towards reaching what we call as artificial general intelligence, which is called AGI. The other important thing which I would like to come to is something called as a context window. Now, this is important because context window is the short-term memory of the LLM, the ChatGPT, or the Claude that you're using. Now here, as I told earlier, tokens are nothing but this text, whatever you type in, it is broken into small pieces. So approximately 0.75 words, is a one token. And then if your conversation gets too long, the AI starts forgetting what you told in the start. Now, you'll probably see a message saying that this conversation is getting too long, start to a new conversation. That is because you're overshooting this context window. This context window is what the AI can see at once. So if you are kind of asking it to kind of summarize the entire works of Shakespeare and then start questioning on, say, Romeo and Juliet or some other specific thing, it'll say, sorry, I've reached the maximum of my context window. I can't answer anything more. So a tip for all of you is you have to keep your prompts concise and relevant, and don't continue the conversation for too long. So just to give you an example, if somebody were to write this, many words map to one token, but some don't. So this is how the AI will read it. So it will take chunks of every word and take it as token. And then this is calculated, and the internal thing, I'm not going to go into details, but that is how it actually predicts what it needs to generate. So if you see how things are actually improving, you can see that's an exponential curve, right? So 2019, they had the GPT-1, as Dr. Divesh was mentioning, that was a landmark paper of attention is all I see or attention is all I want. That was from Google team. And then the GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3, and this is called as a transformers, right? So then we started having in 2022, the GPT 3.5, which came out, and there is an explosion. So right now, we have around Llama 4, which has got 10 million plus, parameters in its context window. So you can put the entire works of Shakespeare in that in one context window. So that is where we're reaching. The size of this context windows is increasing. Next, we come to something very important when you're using AI, especially in medical field, and that is hallucination, right? Now, this is a meme again, used on multiple platforms for multiple different things. But in the case of LLM, I would like to highlight that hallucination is extremely an important thing that we have to watch out for. So hallucination here is otherwise called the confident error. That is, it will tell you very confidently. So you ask a scientific question and it'll come out with a very nice scientific, very well structured answer, and it sounds very confident. So here, as doctors, we need to be extremely careful that we can trust the structure, but we need to verify the content, right? So you might be doing research for, say, a talk, and you're using ChatGPT. You can trust the way it is kind of coming out with the content, right, with the structure. But it might quote a paper, it might invent its own journal, it might make articles sound so real that you think it's all true, right? So here you have to be very, very careful that the AI will try to make things sound very good. But you have to very carefully check where it is citing from, and you have to question it multiple times to ensure that whatever you're getting is actually factually correct. So coming to another important thing when using LLMs is the privacy. And you have to kind of protect it, because whenever you're putting anything on your free chat GPT or Claude, they're like public tools, right? They are using your data for training. So the moment you put something, they're using it for training. You have to de-identify anything that you put there. So don't put your name, don't put your boarding pass, or don't put your bank statements directly with everything. And coming to us as doctors, don't put your patient data anywhere, right? You have to ensure that you're going to be extremely careful when you're putting identifiable data on ChatGPT or any of these platforms. And if you have hospital approved enterprise version, so enterprise versions are something where they have a contract with the LLM developers like OpenAI, and there they'll have privacy contracts. So they would have signed contracts, they would have kind of ensured that the data will not be used for training. So in those circumstances, you can use patient data, but otherwise for the public platforms, do not use anything which is identifiable. And the golden rule, which actually we had to mention at the top, is never ever enter patient identifiable information. No photos, no patient case sheets, no data which actually has patient name or anything which is identifiable to patient. So please remember that this is actually something very important. Don't do this if you're using any of these LLMs. Next, coming to the prompt. Now, this is a very big thing. Now, as this cartoon says, sure, AI wrote the prompt, but he wrote the author wrote the prompt. AI wrote the book, but he wrote the prompt. That's why we are giving the prize to him. So prompt engineering is extremely important. That is, as Dr. Divesh was mentioning, what you ask, that's what you get. So prompting is important. And if you look at prompting and clinical supervision, right, as we already mentioned, garbage in is garbage out. So vague prompts, okay, lead to generic and risky answers, right? So if you were to ask as a consultant, and the AI is your resident, if you were to ask a very vague question, right, the AI, which is a resident, will give you a vague answer. But if you're very specific, then you'll get a very specific answer. So it's very similar to that. Then give AI a role, a task and constraints, and iterate. Iterate is you kind of, immediately kind of correct. If the first answer is poor, refine the instructions and give it. So what is the 5-part prompt template? Now, here you define the role. Now you have to define the role to the AI as to what role you want it to play. You are a senior anesthesia educator, right? You can start off with that role. Now, if you want to kind of plan your itinerary for a trip that you're going probably to Vietnam or Cambodia, you can say that you are a senior travel planner, right? So you can actually specify what role you want the AI to play. Next, you give the context. So if you say you're a senior anesthesia educator, you say, yes, I'm preparing a talk for junior residents about, it could be some topic. Then the task is, you say, fine, create a 5-point summary of this subject. And then you say, do not use jargon, because I need to talk to this junior residents who just started their DNB program. Keep it under 200 words. So you're actually giving it a very specific constraint. And then you can say format it, and you say output as a bulleted list so that I can share it as notes. So this is how you go about creating a prompt. Now, what we will do is I will just take you through some of the live demonstrations of how to use it. So let's take, for example, you are explaining general anesthesia to an anxious patient. You're using a 5-part template. And the result is you want an instant readable draft. So I will actually, what I will do is I'll stop sharing this screen and then I'll share another screen just to show you the live demonstration. Are you able to see my screen now?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Trying to get to my, yes. Okay. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir. Abacus.
Uh, Abacus. So this is what I use, right? So for people who are new to LLMs, now there are plenty of LLMs. So I've opened a few browsers here. One is ChatGPT, right? It'll tell you what can I help you with. Claude is more personal. It'll say Murali returns or says evening Murali here. Then of course we have Google Gemini here. So what we will do is I will use this, which actually I use on a regular basis called Abacus, because now I've got access to all the different LLMs through this. So this is a paid one. It costs as much as probably you pay for your Netflix every month, but it gives you access to the latest GPT models across. So you have GPT 5.2, I have the Claude 4.5. Then I have something called as GPT 5.2 thinking. Now, thinking is a reasoning model. So that is going to take more time. It's going to take a little bit more analytical mind. And you have Nano Banana, which Dr. Divesh was mentioning. So you got all the different LLMs. So let's do one thing. We got a prompt which we generated to create this general anesthesia thing. I've just copied it from elsewhere, from a Word document which I created. So I say that you're a senior consultant anesthesiologist with 20 years experience. So I'm defining a role to this GPT right now. Context is I'm seeing a 45-year-old patient in the pre-assessment clinic who's extremely anxious about going under elective lab chole. So this was a patient that I saw yesterday. He came in, he's a software senior professional. And they have no significant comorbidities, but they are worried about the sensation of losing control and risk of not waking up. I'm defining the task very clearly that draft a one-page patient information leaflet titled Your General Anesthetic, What to Expect. And the goal is to demystify the process and provide reassurance. What is a constraint? I wanted to use a warm, empathetic tone, not a cold one. I wanted to avoid complex medical jargon. I wanted to keep it at a reading level similar to an eighth grader. So I don't want it to be too complex. And do not mention specific drugs, names, or doses because he's already scared. And then I will ensure to include a section of common side effects and a section on serious but rare risks, right? And I wanted to format it this way. So I'm going to run this prompt. So this is a prompt. So I'm going to run the prompt. And the moment I run the prompt, the abacus, which I'm using, will actually route it to a specific model. So it is thinking that, yes, this is not a very complex thing for me. I will route it to what is called as a Gemini 3 Flash. Now, this is one of the fastest models. It is not thinking too hard, but it is giving me a very fast output. And it is simple. So this has given me an output saying your general anesthetic, what to expect. It has given me an information leaflet immediately. So now you can see it actually is giving me an entire thing. What happens before you sleep, the moment you go under, waking up, common side effects, serious but rare risks, right? Questions to ask your anesthesiologist. So it also gives you. Now, if I say I want a little bit more thinking, I want to use a different model. I'm not going into the other tabs here, but I'm going to say use Claude. So I have got the option here to use Claude, right? I'm going to say generate the same thing with Claude. Now, Claude will take a little bit longer time because it is going to be a little bit more reasoning, and then it will generate a different kind of leaflet, right? So it's going to give me a wonderful leaflet. Can you see now? So it is actually thinking a little bit more. It is giving me much more bullet points. So what happens before you go to surgery? So you can see the difference between the Gemini 3 Flash, which was faster, but did not give me such a detailed output, and Claude, which is actually giving me a wonderful, very nicely done leaflet. So this is how it differs, how the training between the large language models differ. So if you can see my different outputs, this was my output from Gemini 3 Flash, whereas the moment I used Claude's latest engine, which is 4.5, I get a wonderful output, and it gives me the exact, whatever incidences, which I can cross check. I can tell you how, we can do fact check. But this is the difference between giving a good prompt, okay, and something like just say, give me a patient information leaflet. It won't give you this much of a detailed output. Now, the second prompt which I wanted to show you was summarizing a complex guideline. So the recent guidelines which have come out in 2025 on, say, anticoagulation by ASRA. So we will take that as one of the examples. So I have created a prompt here. So the prompt reads that you are a perioperative anticoagulation and neuroaxial anesthesia expert. You are careful, conservative, and never invent numbers, right? That is the role that we have defined. The context is I have a guideline PDF of preoperative anticoagulation, around 40 pages PDF. I need a quick extraction for neuraxial practice for educational departmental reference, not patient-specific orders. So I'm very clear here. I don't want it to be a patient leaflet. From the text I provide, extract and summarize the recommended timing for stopping apixaban before neuraxial procedures and when it can be restarted. So this is something a patient has come in and patient is on apixaban. Of course, we can't remember all the drug dosages and everything off hand. So we say, fine, I'm going to use ChatGPT, but I'm going to be very specific with using this guideline. And I'm going to say, this is what I want. And constraint is use only the information I paste. Don't take something from the net or whatever. So here what I do is I will attach this file. Okay. So I'll upload it from the computer. Okay. So I'll go into the, I've just got the thing here. Yeah. Anticoagulation guidelines 2025. I open it. So this will upload the file onto the server, right? Wherever the LLM is, hosted and the entire model. And now it is going to read this entire thing. Okay. So it's uploading. And once it's uploaded, I'm ready to actually execute this task. So the moment I press this, it's again going to route. My abacus is going to route to a different LLM based on the complexity of the task. But now I'm going to get the entire, so it's routing it to GPT 5.2, which is the latest model from OpenAI, which is GPT 5.2. So you see, this is taken the entire ASRA guidelines. Okay, it's probably 25 pages, read the entire thing, and this is what actually it gives me, right? So it gives me that, your apixaban, what is happening to make this fast. It's asking whether I can do something a little bit more, with regards to clarity. So it was not able to read the entire thing. So I'm going to run it through another model. So this is how the models differ. The large language models differ in the way they can read. Okay, so Claude Sonnet says, yes, I'm watching the entire thing. So it's telling me what it's doing. It's reasoning at this point. And now it has given me a summary table, right? So this was able to do something which the GPT 5.2 was not able to do. So this is the advantage I get when I use Abacus, because I can use different large language models and I can see how they differ. So it has given me a wonderful table, summary table, and it's also given me what is a fine print, unanticipated administration with catheter in situ, with high dose withhold apixaban for greater than 72 hours, traumatic neuraxial puncture, what do you do? Renal impairment, what do you do? So it's given me a wonderful, well-detailed, specific data when it comes to what it needs to kind of do and what it has done. So this is how you use a large language model if you want to summarize a document. It could be a narrative review, it could be a, any review article or any paper. You can actually give it a very good prompt, right? And then say, use this prompt and give me the output. So this is what I wanted to show you when it comes to the how to use a prompt. Now I'll go back to my slides and we'll continue with the presentation. Okay. So now what we did was we did a prompting for drafting a patient leaflet. and we also did summarize a complex guideline. Now, what else can you do? If you use a proper prompt, you can actually make a quiz out of a topic. It could be airway, it could be regional anesthesia. You can create analogy, like you can say, explain the entire circle system using plumbing analogy. And in a regional anesthesia, you can say, explain the PNS machine to me in some analogy, and you can simplify things. But as I already mentioned, always double check the facts against your primary textbook. So now, where do you use these LLMs? Now, email polishing, right? You can start off, say, example, you drafted an email and you think it's not professional enough for sending it to, say, a conference, or it could be, you're collaborating with somebody, or it could be another professional email. You can polish it. Probably you're already using it. The other good thing we can do is we are already recording probably this meeting. And there are multiple platforms which use like Otter AI and various things. You can take the minutes of the meeting, you can summarize, say, departmental meetings, or even any of the other society meetings that you attend. You can schedule templates. If you are doing rotas for your department, you can say, fine, I've got these many people, they've taken leave on so many days, create a rota for the next month, right? So you can create the rota within, say, 5 to 10 minutes, the entire rota. And of course, you can use it to do audits. So you can use it to analyze Excel sheets. You can ask it to kind of analyze, various things. And if you are into basic coding, you can use it for data analysis as well. So this is what all you can use it for. I'm going to show you a live demonstration how you do slides in a minute, but we will go through another important thing here, which is the fairness of AI, right? So as Dr. Divesh was mentioning, you have to be extremely watchful of this because AI learns from the internet, which contains a lot of human bias. So whenever it is actually generating language-related notes or whatever you're doing, keep a watch on this bias, right? Because it might be biased against a specific color, a specific ethnic group, or religion. So please be watchful of this. So use neutral and non-judgmental language whenever it gives you an output, and you have to edit it before you send it out to anybody or publish it. So the other thing what you can do is ask the AI to cross-check itself. So this is called red teaming. So you ask the AI if it is given an output to find flaws in its own logic. Say example, now the prompt is you're done a leaflet. It says, okay, I'm going to use this leaflet for patient. Tell me 3 ways it could be misinterpreted or where it is medically incomplete. So it will give you what it went wrong and it will recorrect. So you can use the AI to actually fine tune itself, right? So this is very important because it sometimes gives you rubbish answers. So be very careful. Now, coming to another important thing, which is coming up in a very big way, very similar to agentic AI, is something called as RAG. Remember this word, it's going to be quite common when you kind of see it in the news. So this is, you're training it on specific models, right? Specific documents. So example, now you have a law firm and you want it to kind of go through all your previous notes or whatever, you can train it on only your notes. And here, because if you train it on certain things, say example, you do an anesthesia related app, you train it on certain textbooks, so it could be Miller or a couple of things. And here you will actually have the hallucinations reduced because it's going to quote only the trained documents. And if you have a department, a huge department, you can train it on the hospital SOPs and everything. So it will actually give you what you are supposed to do in that specific department, not what is done in, say, UK or Australia. So this is how it works. So you have a database and it is trained on that and it gives you the answer. So this is what is RAG. I'll give you an example of how RAG works. And medico-legal reality is you have to have the human in the loop, okay? Because at the end of the day, you are legally responsible for whatever you do. Use it as a tool, no different than a clinical calculator or a textbook. Don't give too much of autonomy to it. And if AI has help, you have to actually give a disclaimer, right? So this was drafted with AI assistance and it was reviewed by so-and-so doctor for accuracy. So make sure that that is explicit, otherwise things might go in the wrong way. And coming to the don't list, don't use it for drug dosages without double checking. That can lead to disaster. Don't use it in real-time emergency decision support. You need your guideline cards or whatever ready reckoners. Don't use it for that. Don't assume that the latest model knows the latest guideline. because it might be trained by 2020. So example, the ChatGPT 5.2 is trained from data up till 2024 sometimes. So it doesn't have the latest data. So don't think latest model is latest guideline, and don't ignore your gut feeling if you think the AI output looks wrong. So how do you start? Okay, pick something like low stakes stuff, like polishing your email or doing some teaching slides. I'll take you through how to do teaching slides. Experiment with a couple of models. As I showed you, one model might not give you the right answer. Keep a couple of windows open, ask the same question and see how it does. Build a prompt library. So I have a prompt library. So I have prompts to kind of do research on podcast guests. I have prompts to kind of do research on articles. So save the prompts that have worked for you as Word files and keep it somewhere where you can access it. And you have to stay curious. Like as Dr. Divesh was mentioning, subscribe to one newsletter, subscribe to one podcast, subscribe to one place. And the technology is changing so fast that you'll be completely outdated in a year's time for what you read now. A couple of books and podcasts that I would recommend. This book I would strongly recommend, which is Coming Wave, which is by Mustafa Sulaiman, he's the CEO of Microsoft AI. Wonderful book. This again, Scary Smart, was written 3-4 years ago by Mo Godot. Again, a wonderful book to read about AI. And these two podcasts I would strongly recommend. One is this lower podcast is Diary of CEO. That is Mo Godot and Stephen Bartlett. And then the top one is a wonderful podcast again. Demis Hassabis is the guy behind DeepMind, which is one of the foremost AI research labs in the world. And they were the ones who cracked the proteomic code. So his is a wonderful podcast as to what we can expect. So these are the things that I would leave you with. And to conclude, you might be worried, oh my God, AI is going to replace anesthesiologists. No, AI will not replace anesthesiologists, but remember that anesthesiologists who use AI will replace those who don't. So I thank again, Sangamitra and the entire team for organizing this. So as a final thought, use AI to automate the tasks so you can focus on the patient. So remember, at the end of the day, patient is the goal that you have in your life, and you have to do everything what is best for your patient, whether you're a trainee or a consultant listening to this. Kindly remember that, and never go into the arrogant zone as you gain more knowledge. Stay in this humility sweet spot, which actually balances both conviction and knowledge. If there's anything that you want to query, you can drop a message to me on WhatsApp, or you can connect with me on Twitter or on Insta. And as Dr. Divesh said, we have got some wonderful. I think he's conducting a masterclass in AORA 2026 in Coimbatore on AI. So do register for it if you want to go more in depth. I'll just show you as a last thing a little bit of how to do presentations. These slides were done by AI, so I'm going to just take you through how to do that. Sangamitra, we have time for 5 minutes.
Yeah, please go ahead, Dr. Murali.
Yeah. So let's take, for example, we have this thing on ASRA guidelines, which we have done. So I will just query the AI asking for probably a content for 5 slides. Give me the key highlights of this guideline to cover 5 slides. Okay, I'm going to be very clear, slide content only. Okay, so it will give me the basic outline of this guideline to cover 5 slides. And then I'm going to show you what you can do with it and how you can create slides. So it is, giving me, so the guideline overview and approach is the first slide. So this is what it gives me as a first slide. Then risk stratification, right? And this is something that it has devised, saying that these are the slide contents that you can use to create 5 slides, right? You can ask 20 slides, 15 slides, but you need to go through this content. Don't take this blindly. This might not be in line with what you want. You can modify it. You can put it into a Word document, whatever you want to do. But once you got the slide content, right, fine-tuned, which you will do after taking it to a Word document, I'm just, bypassing that step. Then you will go into one of the AI engines which can create presentations. So I use something called as Gamma. So this is again available freely to create certain amount of slides to test it, but later you will have to pay for it. because all of this takes a lot of energy, a lot of compute power. So the companies have to survive. So here I'm going to say paste in text. So I've already taken the content from wherever it is, and I'm going to divide each slide with 3 dots. So this is how it will know that it's actually doing 2 slides. So here I'm going to go in, change the entire thing. Okay. So I don't want that as 1 slide. So this is going to be slide 1. So I've got content for 5 slides. Okay. And then I'm going to say, preserve this exact text. Okay. And you give me slides, right? I don't have time to sit and do my PowerPoint presentation. I want you to create the slides for me. So now it will give me what are the different themes that I can use. So let's pick something, very fancy. So I'm going to have a lot of different themes available to me. So let's take let us take this Stardust, right? So I'm going to take Stardust. I've selected this theme and I'll say generate. Now it is generating 5 cards for me. These 5 cards needn't be 5 slides. It can be, you can make it into 10 slides by actually duplicating some of the content, but it is giving me the entire slide content. You can see it working already. Are you able to see this live?
Yes, Dr. Murali, we are able to see this live.
Yeah. So if people have their laptops open, they can start actually using this. So you can see how beautifully it's actually creating the slides. Now, if I have to create these slides, it might take me a couple of days, right? Because I have to kind of open PowerPoint. I have to kind of ensure all this is happening. But once you do this, you have to cross-check, right? You have to edit it. But it is giving you a draft. It is giving you something to work with. And once you have something to work with, you can actually do things better with it. So now it has given me, I used one of my other logins. So it says fine. It's asking me to kind of, it is teaching me how to use this. Okay. So you can see that it has created, some visuals. I can change the visuals. Okay. I can actually add anything if I want. I can create images, but you can see that it has created the entire thing and I can share it by downloading it. So I can say export and then I can export it as a PowerPoint. I can export it as images. And this is how you can use AI to do slides. In fact, this was not a part of my talk, but Sangamitra said, sir, please cover this. So that's why I'm covering. So this is something that you can use gamma.ai and it will create wonderful slides for you. Now, the other thing which I wanted to show was RAG. I'll just show you RAG 1 second. So RAG is here. So this is Swamiji who I follow. So his talks, run into close to 25,000 pages, right? Whatever. So one of the software engineers who is one of his disciples has done this RAG project where he has used the GPT, the LLM model, which is from OpenAI, to create a database, okay, of whatever Swamiji has taught, right? With Vedantic teaching, which is close to 47 books of audio transcripts. And then everything is fed into the data. So if I ask a question here, it is not going into the internet and checking answers. It is only checking on the data set that has been provided. So this is a good example of usage of RAG, which I mentioned earlier. So if you want to create your own, say, app tomorrow, which is going to question only anesthesia books or certain notes or whatever, you can create it. And you can use the backend LLM models to actually work with this data. So this is how RAG is used. So I just wanted to share this one question, one thing. So if you ask any question here, it will only use the data from this data set. So I think that's about it with what I wanted to share. So thanks a lot. Probably took a little bit more time, but I wanted it to be more
Thank you.
practical. Yeah,
Thank you,
I
Dr.
wanted to kind
Murali.
of,
I think the presentation was wonderful. It was a very good insight, deep insight into large language models, how these function. And if we actually keep them in mind, then we can use AI in our day-to-day practice much better. Any questions from the audience? Tomorrow we'll be having Dr. Subramaniam Mahankali, who will be presenting AI uses in anesthesia, and Dr. Amjad Manyar, who will be presenting non-anesthesia uses, AI uses for anesthesiologists. So we'll be having a detailed discussion tomorrow also on similar things. But any questions up till now, any clarifications you want? And in AORA 2026, we are having a master class by Dr. Mankali as well as myself on AI. It's 90 minutes. So if you are planning to attend AORA 2026, do register for that. Any comments from anyone? Any questions, clarifications?
Hi,
Hello.
Dr. Anupama here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Thank you,
Mankali,
and
go
Dr.
ahead.
Devesh and Dr. Murali. It was excellent. I mean, it's such a needed, a class for all of us. One question I have for both of you all. Are there any online portals which teach you about how to use AI? I mean, if it's a paid course also, it's fine. Are there any online courses?
yeah, in fact, Udemy and Coursera, they have wonderful what do you call mm, courses available, and most of the time it's they're running on some kind of a sale. So you will probably get enrolled into one course for some 400, 500 rupees. So there are wonderful courses there which you can do. Again, you can use one of these chat GPTs to ask, you can just query it saying that, tell me which is the best course to learn more about you chat GPT, and it will tell
Yeah,
you
that's
actually
a
which
smart
course to
one.
enroll.
So
Yeah.
actually, I'm doing a generative AI course from IIT Patna. So all the IITs are offering. They are a little expensive. They run into lakhs. So be careful before choosing any course. As Dr. Mulia said, in fact, ask ChatGPT or Gemini which is the best course and what you are expecting from that course, whether it will be able to deliver or not. Because when it comes to healthcare, the courses are designed more for non-healthcare professionals. So be careful in which course you enroll for because they turn out to be a little expensive.
There is another question, Dr. Devesh. Is notebook LM example for RAG? Now,
Even I am thinking you need to answer that.
yeah. So Notebook LM, if you have used it, actually is a wonderful tool, especially for doing research. So if you query it, it will give you a lot of good papers, and then you can use that data to query, or you can do whatever. So I wouldn't say it's a type of RAG, because RAG is more specific. RAG is more specific that you train it on a certain data set. Whereas Notebook LM is probably a hybrid where you're using the GPT version, and then once you get the data, then you're probably using that to kind of question. But I still feel the present frontier models like the Claude, even the Gemini and 5.2 ChatGPT are so ahead of the game that it's wonderful. And I'm actually running some of the models on my tiny laptop. So there is something where you can actually run those models through Olama. So without the internet, you can just query. But you see that it's so primitive when compared to the present models which are running, the GPTs and all. So another 1 year, I don't know where we will be. But right now we are here.
Okay.
So,
Dr.
uh,
Sajna here. I have a
Yeah,
question to
that's
Dr.
Sadhana.
Murali.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
so what is the difference between RAG and local LLM?
Okay, very simple. So the local LLM is a model which is small enough to run on your computer, right? Now you cannot run, say, GPT 5.2, which has got some God knows how many million billion parameters on your computer, because it can't run because it needs that amount of computing power. So local LLM is what is running on your computer. So these are open source models which you can download. So if you can go to this place called Olama, you can download the software, you can run the models on that. Uh, RAG is something which you kind of train on the data set. So if you train on certain books or certain, as I said, it could be your patient data. It could be trained on all the EMR files that your hospital has. So then you can start doing all kinds of retrospective audits or studies. So this is specific data it is trained. Whereas your whatever local LM is just running on your computer. That's all. So that is not RAG.
So RAG, does it require a separate software, or you're going to use the uh, models that are available online, like ChatGPT or something like that?
Okay. Again, there are two things that you can do. So when you are, this is getting very technical, which is interesting. So when you start using the language models, such as, let us say, example, you want to use GPT, you need to use something called as an API. So you need to go purchase this API from OpenAI. So the minimum amount is say $5. Then you put this $5 or $10 into the account, and you get one API which is 250 whatever character code. This you need to enter into the software that you're going to use to chat with that OpenAI LLM. So one of the popular softwares which is available is something called as Cursor, which runs the Python code. And once you put that API code into that, that will query the LLM directly, the model. And based on what is your query, how much is your token, whatever requirement, it will charge you per token. So it is charged per token at like some 5 cents or some very small amount, depending on the model. So each model has got different prices, right? Now, once you create that, then you can run your whatever local database querying with that. So that is how you build the RAG. So the RAG is built with some amount of engineering which takes place in the background, and then you can query. So you can use the available models, frontier models, to run the RAG, or you can use the open source models such as Llama or whatever to run it in a local database.
Thank you.
So Dr. Sangamitra will be uploading the recordings. So it will be there in the group. Dr. Shraddha asked.
So, can I make one small comment?
Yeah, please,
Yes,
ma'am.
Vandana madam.
Yeah. So, with this, my fear of AI has gone out, and I think I can venture into using AI.
Ma'am, that is the best thing we have heard this evening.
Thanks to both of you, because I was really scared of AI and I would take help from other people to use it for me. But I think I can start learning it now. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions, comments before we close down? And I would request, please, tomorrow log in at the same time. We are going to have 2 interesting sessions, as well as request your friends, since we have the limit of 300 audiences. So it can be shared in your close departmental groups also, but not outside that. So should we wind up, Dr. Murali?
Yes, please. Yeah. Sangamitra, thanks a lot for an entire thing, organizing the
Thank
entire
you,
thing.
sir.
And thanks to Dr. Divesh for having this concept of doing this entire session. It was meant to be in December, but because exams were around the corner, we decided to have it so that people who are attending the exam could also take advantage of this session. So thanks a lot.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
everyone.
sir. And
Thank
I hope to see you
everybody.
all again tomorrow
Yeah,
with
definitely.
same interest. And let's continue learning AI in the fastest and easiest way possible.
Thank you. Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank you. Good night, sir.
Bye-bye. Good night. Thank you.